Greetings, I'm the Bulgarian Troglodyte. Today I'm gonna do a video about my Japanese film Blu-ray collection, and I think I have one DVD also. So it's weird to do a video like this because I don't do that much videos like this, but I thought that it would be fun to show my Japanese film collection, even though it's very small compared to many other collections on YouTube, as again I have a very limited budget, so I cannot get as much stuff as I would like to get. But I don't mind streaming, as you guys know, I stream a lot, and I've seen like I think over 300 Japanese films that I don't own, so streaming is fine for me, but I also really love physical media, so it's sometimes fun to do a video like this where I talk about some physical media as well. And here I have both box sets, then boutique stuff, then some regular Blu-rays as well, so hopefully you can maybe get some recommendations here, and yeah, and I'll try to say some things about the films as well if I can, but with some of them I'll go through them fairly quickly, so we'll see how it ends up going. But let's start with some of the kind of box sets and collections. So first we have this Nobuhiko Obayashi Anti-War trilogy. So this has Casting Blossoms to the Sky, 7 Weeks and Hanagatami. So I haven't seen one of these films, which is 7 Weeks, but the other two I really love, and they are again anti-war films, but very different types of anti-war films where you don't really see any kind of war footage, and they are kind of very over the top, have a very weird, whimsical style to them, but I really love these films and I'm really looking forward to watching 7 Weeks. Also, the only reason I haven't watched it yet is that it's a 3-hour long film and you just need to be in the mood for those, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love it, as I really enjoy all the Obayashi films that I have seen so far. And many of the Obayashi films you can actually watch in the Rare Film website, and some also in the Archive.org website if you are interested in his work. And then there are some of these films on Blu-ray as well, but this is this third window edition, and I actually got this as a present from my good friend, my podcast co-host Altes, so thanks to him again for getting me this. I was really happy to get this, as I had wanted to get it for a long time, and it was so nice that Altes bought it for me. Yeah, so pretty nice cover, and yeah, there's the back, and that's how it looks on the inside, and there's like a small booklet here and stuff, so I would recommend those films. Now they are available on like single case releases as well, individually. Then this is actually the first one out of all of these that I got. I got this as a Christmas present on 2016, and this kind of changed my cinema viewing life, as this got me into Japanese cinema and into world cinema in general. So it's this Akira Kurosawa samurai film collection. So this has 6 films. It has Rashomon, 7 Samurai, Throne of Blood, The Hidden Fortress, Yojimbo and Sanjuro. So some of these films were a bit hard for me to get into at first, but then once I got the hang of it, I really fell in love with Kurosawa's work and Japanese cinema in general, and I think Kurosawa is a good entry point into Japanese cinema, although these days I think there are a few Japanese directors whose work I find more interesting than Kurosawa's work, as Kurosawa's work is, it can be a bit kind of very simplistic and yeah, not the most sophisticated, you could say, but I still really enjoy watching his stuff. Although sometimes I feel kind of sad when I see people like only watching Kurosawa's films and then they don't get into any other Japanese directors. I think that's a kind of very sad thing, and you are kind of missing a lot if you only watch Kurosawa films, I think. But this is a pretty nice box set. They also made a kind of sequel box set to this here in the Nordic countries, but I think the sequel box set for some reason doesn't have Finnish subtitles, but it has Swedish subtitles, and while I know some Swedish myself. It's not good enough to read subtitles for a film, so that's too bad, because that set has like Ikiru, Redbeard and some other films, so it would have been great to get that set, but whatever, it's what it is. Then this next one is possibly the favorite thing in my collection, so it's this Kichu Yoshida Love and Anarchism box set. This is actually the US version, so you don't have the rating logo. But god, I love this box set so much. Again, my favorite colors here, pink and purple, and yeah, such a beautiful design here. So this has Eros plus Massacre, both the theatrical and director's cuts. Then it has Heroic Purgatory, which we talked about on the podcast. Then it has Coup d'etat, which is a bit weaker than the other two films, but still a good film. And again, these are some of the crown jewels of the Japanese New Wave. Incredibly challenging films, but very rewarding films, very political films. They have very off-putting cinematography, very brutalist compositions, but I absolutely love every minute of it. Okay, Yoshida is one of my absolute favorite directors of all time, and I always try to champion him on my channel because barely anybody talks about him, especially here on YouTube. Yeah. But yeah, such a great box set. Then a very similar box set actually also from Arrow Academy, so it's this Akio Yisouji, the Buddhist trilogy, so this Transient Life, Mandala and Poem. All three are great movies, and these are Japanese New Wave stuff as well. Very challenging films, very political films, all about lots of taboo things in Japanese society and in the world in general. And they also have, well, they aren't as brutalist as Yoshida, but the compositions definitely are something totally different, something that you haven't really seen in other filmmakers' films, and they can be a bit off-putting visually, but I love that type of cinematography a lot, and these films are so great, especially the first two films I really love. And I've taken out of the kind of Sleep from the Back or whatever it's called, so yeah. Great stuff, great stuff. Then we have some different types of Japanese cinema in this box set, so it's the Female Prisoner Scorpion, the complete collection from Arrow. Yeah, so these are very enjoyable films. Yeah, lots of fun, okay, violent, great female energy there. Okay, they aren't masterpieces or anything, but lots of fun to watch. I enjoyed going through the series. I don't consider them to be like personal favorites, but definitely very entertaining stuff. And I think this is the kind of budget version of the box set. There was a bit of a bigger box set, I think, but that has all the films, so that's what matters in the end. Then we have this BFI of Flesh and Blood, Hirokazu Koreeda set. We've of course talked about lots of Koreeda in the podcast. So this has Maboroshi, which we just talked about. It has Afterlife, Nobody Knows and Still Knowing. Still Walking, so not Still Knowing, but yeah. Still Walking we also talked about on the podcast. Yeah, great hard box. All of these films are great. There are lots of special features here and a booklet, but I think this is out of print sadly, so you cannot get it other than in the second-hand market. But some of these films you can get on individual releases, both on BFI and both on other labels. So definitely watch all of those films if you haven't already. They are really great. Then another Koreeda thing here is this Family Values set from Arrow Academy, but this is again the budget version. There was this huge box set for it, but I didn't have the chance to get it when that was available. But this has I Wish, Like Father Like Son and After the Storm. And Like Father Like Son we talked about on the podcast as well. That might be my favorite Koreeda film, but it's really hard to say. But again, all three films are worth watching. They are really good and great examples of Koreeda's master filmmaking. Then we have pretty much the greatest film of all time, and sadly this is also the budget version of this, but it's the Human Condition trilogy, and this is the Arrow Academy version, and these prints here are absolutely amazing. And yeah, these 3 films or this one film, however you want to think about it, is just one for the ages. You just have such a great understanding of humanity after you have watched it. It just tackles so many of the essential topics that we have to deal with in our life, whether it's the kind of systematic oppression, whether it's the corruption of people in power and authorities, whether it's how you deal with your values being different from societal values, and lots of these very important topics. And Tatsuya Nakada is absolutely magnetic in these films. He gives such a great performance as Kaji. But yeah, incredible cinematography here as well. But yeah, this is the greatest thing ever. Yeah. Then we have a couple of Tomu Uchida films. I have to say that I don't remember that much about these films. I've seen them once a few years ago, but I remember liking them, and I think I gave them like 4 stars on Letterboxd. But we have Bloody Spear at Mount Fuji and Mad Fox, both on Arrow Academy. Yeah, Mad Fox is this kind of very beautiful, aesthetically driven film that I really liked, and this is kind of a samurai film but a bit different. I think it's kind of like a road movie. Yeah, but I think Uchida is someone who is a bit more well known in Japan, and I think many people who are like very well versed in Japanese cinema think that he might be even one of the great Japanese directors, but I haven't seen enough to really have an opinion on that myself. I think I've only seen these 2, which are both good 4-star films from what I remember, but yeah, definitely well worth watching, and I need to track down some more Uchida, whether it's on streaming or whether it's on physical media. And then I actually, before I got the Koreeda Family Values set, I also bought this Individual After the Storm. So I kind of don't have much use for this now that I have it on the box set, but I'm still gonna keep this. I think it's nice to have it, and I think I only paid like £6 for this in the Covent Garden Fob in London, so not too bad. But yeah, that's good film, but the worst one in the box set, I think, and I would say a lesser work for Koreeda. Then this one is one of the latest ones I've bought. So it's Tadashi Imai's Revenge from Eureka Masters of Cinema. A really fun Jidaigeki film. Like there's this a very like well done like fight scene towards the end that I really liked, and interesting plot, interesting structure to this film. It has great cinematography. I don't think it's a masterpiece, but it's still very good, and I think the guy who wrote this also wrote Kobayashi's Harakiri, that I will show in a bit. So it's kind of worth watching for that alone, because obviously Harakiri is one of the greatest films of all time. So yeah, good cover art here as well, and yeah, glad that I blind bought it. Yeah. Then a very interesting Japanese film, also from Masters of Cinema. We have Cure by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, and if you followed my channel, I've talked about how Kiyoshi Kurosawa has been one of my highlights of the year, as I've watched many of his films like Pulse and Retribution, and most importantly Charisma, because I really liked all of those films. Especially Charisma is probably my favorite first time watch of the year, so I've really gotten into his work more and more. But I had seen several of his films like before this year as well, like Creepy and this one. And this one I really need to rewatch now that I've gotten more acquainted with his style, because I liked this film when I watched it back when this Blu-ray came out, but I wasn't like completely enamored. What is that word? Like, I didn't kind of completely get the film in the way that I would have totally loved it, but I feel like now that I'm a huge fan of Koji Yakusho and a huge fan of Kiyoshi Kurosawa, I think I'm probably gonna like this film more now. Yeah, Koji Yakusho has really become one of my favorite actors also this year. Actually, even last night watched one of his films, The Eel by Shohei Imamura, which is one of his later works, and that was a very interesting film that I really enjoyed watching. But yeah, this is one that everybody should watch, I think. Then this next one is actually not a Japanese director, but it's kind of a Japanese film, so it's of course Mishima, A Life in 4 Chapters, with this gorgeous packaging. One of the greatest films of all time about the controversial author Yukio Mishima, who committed seppuku. Yeah. Then we have another Obayashi film. It's of course Hausu, the Masters of Cinema version here, a very weird film of course. And this is just one of those films that leaves you that kind of what the fuck. I just witnessed feelings after you've seen it. It's both a comedy and a horror film. It's not scary at all, but it's fun and very creative in its insanity. Need to rewatch this one. And it's really sad that most people only watch this film out of Obayashi's filmography, because I think he has made better films than this, but that one is really good too. Then we have the aforementioned Seppuku from Masaki Kobayashi, one of the greatest films of all time, pretty much as good as The Human Condition, and the best samurai film of all time by far. Okay, the Kurosawa samurai films, to be honest, they look like total pieces of shit when you watch them back to back with this. Like, I love the Kurosawa samurai stuff, but they don't hold a candle to this one. Again, the Kurosawa films are like McDonald's, and this is like a gourmet food in a Michelin star restaurant. So yeah, it's great film. Then we have some BFI stuff. So we have some of these Ozu films. So this one is the great Late Spring, one of his masterpieces, and this one also has Hitori Musuko, which is The Only Son, which is one of his earlier films, which is good as well, but I didn't love it that much, but I need to watch it again. But Late Spring is one of the greatest films of all time. Then we have Late Autumn, which I would say is maybe slightly underrated. It's one of Ozu's best films, one of his late color films. And this one also has Mother Should Be Loved, and that's actually one that I haven't seen yet. So I need to watch that one. But yeah, a masterpiece. Then we have the great Tokyo Monogatari. The first Ozu film I ever watched. Possibly his best film and possibly the greatest film of all time. So in that conversation. And this also has Todake no Kyodai, brothers and sisters of the Toda family. Yeah, which is a good one as well, but doesn't hold a candle to Tokyo Monogatari. Yeah, great movie. Then the third part of the Noriko trilogy. Or is this actually the second part? I don't remember which one came first. Oh yeah, I think this came before Tokyo Monogatari as well. Actually, so yeah, this is the second part of the trilogy, but it's Early Summer, Bakushu, and this one also has What Did the Lady Forget? Shukuyo wa Nani wo Wasuretaka. Yeah. So this one actually really need to rewatch. I remember it being a great film, but I've only seen it once. But Late Spring and Tokyo Monogatari I've seen more than once, so yeah. But at this moment I think this is the weakest one of the trilogy, but that might change after a rewatch. Then one of my absolute favorites out of this bunch, Toshio Matsumoto's Funeral Parade of Roses, in this incredible BFI release. Yeah, this is just one of those cornerstones of the Japanese New Wave movement. It shows the queer culture in Tokyo, which really is there in Tokyo in real life too. Maybe not many people know of that because Japan is a pretty conservative country. But yeah, it's a very interesting film to see that part of Japanese culture that not many people know of or think about. And stylistically it's very incredible. It has a bit of that Clockwork Orange style, and there is this discussion in the film community that maybe Kubrick saw this film and got some influence from it for Clockwork Orange, but I don't know. It's hard to say. But yeah, truly incredible film. One of the great films of all time, I think. Then we have another Yoshida film, and this was also another present from Altes. He got it for my 27th birthday this year, so again, thank you to Altes. But it's a story written with water, the Radiance release. Incredible film. Again, I've seen, I think, 10 Yoshida films or 11 Yoshida films, and this is top 5 Yoshida films. A 5-star film, a total masterpiece. Yeah, and it was kind of the start of his kind of anti-melodrama style, that brutalist style, but it's not as brutalist as Heroic Purgatory, for example. But it's quite weird stuff and challenging stuff, but in a good way. Then another Radiance release, we have Elegant Beast by Yucho Kawashima. A very interesting film. It's kind of mostly in this one apartment, and we see these people trying to scheme their way out of these situations, and they are quite cunning in a way. So it's a very interesting film with a great script. Then we have a few more films to go. So we have Kurosawa's Dreams. So this is the Blu-ray. I think there is a 4K for this now. But I really like this film. It's not one of my favorites, but I can thank this film for getting me into Chopin's work, because this has one beautiful Chopin piece that I absolutely love, and that kind of got me into the rabbit hole of one of the greatest classical composers of all time. Then we have one of Mizoguchi's best films, The Life of Oharu, and total masterpiece. This one we also talked about on the podcast, and yeah, incredibly sad film, very bleak film, but has this incredible framing, some darkly beautiful shots, and lots of themes about women's place in Japanese patriarchal society, and lots of interesting stuff there. One of the greatest films of all time. Then one of my top 20 films of all time, and this we will talk about on the podcast fairly soon. So it's The Sword of Doom by Kihachi Okamoto, who is a director. I've seen a couple of his films, but not that many. But this is starring Tatsuya Nakadai and Toshiro Mifune. It's a nihilist, very violent, dark samurai film, and I love every minute of it. And this was actually the first Criterion I ever bought. Then we have Seijun Suzuki's Tokyo Drifter, very stylistic film. It has this jazzy gangster thing going for it, which I really enjoy. It has this song in it that gets stuck in your head, and yeah, very enjoyable, stylistic film. Maybe style over substance, but still very much worth watching, and I need to rewatch that myself. Then we have Hiroshi Inagaki's The Samurai Trilogy, one of the great trilogies in the history of cinema, about Musashi Miyamoto. I was blanking with the name for a bit, but he's a real life samurai, but of course it's still a fiction film, even though it's about an actual figure in history. So when you watch this story, obviously not everything happened like that, or not all of the things actually happened, but it's still a real life figure, a very interesting figure who was a great samurai and then also a philosopher and a farmer later on. Yeah, but these are such fun watches. So we have Kamikaze Girls, which I actually just got a couple of weeks ago and had to rewatch it immediately after I got it, because it's such a beautiful and fun film with two great female characters. And yeah, it's just incredible cinematography, incredible use of color. Yeah, such a fun film. Then we have one of the best war films of all time. It's Red Angel by Yasujo Masumura. Incredibly bleak film. It's almost solely situated in this kind of infirmary, but there are some scenes outside the infirmary as well. But very brutal film, all about patriarchy as well. So it's not just about war, but it's also how women are abused by toxic men. So yeah, but it's such a great movie. Then we have Oshima's Merry Christmas Mr. Lawrence, starring David Bowie, for example. So it's not like totally Japanese film in that way, as it has some foreign stuff there as well, but incredible film. one of his best, although I think he has a couple of films that are a bit more interesting, but I consider this to be a 5-star film, and Oshima is one of my favorite directors, need to rewatch this one. Then what I consider to be the best film of the 2020s so far, it's Ryusuke Hamaguchi's Drive My Car, which is an incredible film. This is just the kind of Nordic regular Blu-ray for it. There is a Criterion for it as well, and I think a movie release. But a very simple film about a theater director and how he deals with loss. And then we see these other people and how they deal with their problems as well. Very simple film, but such a beautiful film as well, and I could have watched another 3 hours of that. Then a film that I desperately need to rewatch, it's Departures. This is like a fairly acclaimed modern Japanese film from 2008. I remember liking it quite a lot, but I've forgotten most of it because I haven't seen it in quite a while. But I remember liking it a lot again, and yeah, people don't talk about it as much anymore, but I think it was a big hit when it came out. Then we have Kurosawa's Run in the Studio Canal Blu-ray. This is his King Lear adaptation. I haven't watched this since I first watched it. Then I kind of find it to be maybe a bit too long, even though I really love the visuals and many things about it. But I feel like when I rewatch it now, I might like it a lot more. But still I liked it a lot back then as well. But a great movie. Then we have Tsukamoto's Tetsuo Iron Man, and this also has the sequel. Absolutely crazy film, slow budget, experimental filmmaking, very off-putting visuals, but it's just such a fascinating stuff at the same time. Very much well worth looking into. Third window release. Then Love and Peace by Sion Sono. Yeah, absolutely love this. Tokyo rimpi kuni mukete kono kuni wa don don yutaka ni natteku. I just have to sing it every time I talk about this, but we talked about this on the podcast, and there I actually sing the whole song on that podcast, so that was fun. But a crazy kind of fairy tale-esque film about the music industry. Yeah. Then we have Sono's magnum opus that we will talk about in the podcast sometime in the coming months. It's Love Exposure, an incredible film, 4-hour epic that doesn't have a single boring second in it. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, it just shows so many filmmaking styles and so many different kind of ideas put into one film, but it just works as a cohesive whole, even though it's so much in it in one film. But yeah, great, very entertaining stuff. Then we have one of my favorite Kitanos with a great Hihaishi score. It's Kikuchiro. Yeah, kind of cliche in some ways. Very simple, but just so beautiful at the same time. Would highly recommend this. I think this is out of print, unfortunately. Then this one we will talk about in the podcast sometime soon. It's Hanabi, my favorite Kitano. Incredible film, both beautiful but kind of disturbing and violent in some moments. But it manages to balance those different elements together in an incredible way. Has a great ending to just such a beautiful painterly cinematography and great performance by Kitano himself. Then this Kitano film I don't remember as much about, because this is the one out of these 3 Kitano films I'm showing here that I've only seen once, but it's Dolls. I remember liking this quite a bit. It was really beautiful looking movie, but I don't remember that much about the story. But back then at least it wasn't one of my absolute favorite Kitanos, but I still liked it a lot, like I said. Then I only actually own one anime movie, even though I love anime, but I need to get more on Blu-ray in the future. But it's The Silent Voice, which we talked about on the podcast, based on a very acclaimed manga. I have a very big emotional connection to this story. It has a beautiful, heart-wrenching story, again beautiful animation, and yeah, such an incredible movie, and I still need to read the manga. This next one might make some people kind of jealous as this is only available on Blu-ray, I think in the Nordic countries, but not in the UK or in the US. But it's Samurai Rebellion from Masaki Kobayashi. This is the uncut version. Yeah, incredible samurai film. It's not quite as good as Seppuku, but it's almost as good. And it has a very slow pace, but it pays off when you get to the climax. And yeah, incredible film. Maybe we'll do that one for the podcast as well. Then another Kobayashi film, it's Kwaidan, his horror anthology film that's incredibly beautiful, a total masterpiece. Has some of the most incredible visuals you've ever seen in a film. Then Kagemusha, one of the great Kurosawa films, would be a great double bill with Ran as they have very similar visuals. Then last but not least, it's High and Low on BFI DVD, one of Kurosawa's most acclaimed films, one that I really need to rewatch as I haven't seen it in 7 years, but remember liking it quite a bit. But that's it for the video. Yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know if you got any recommendations from this video, and let me know what are some of your favorite Japanese films you have on Blu-ray, or what are some of your favorite Japanese films in general. But yeah, thanks for watching. Don't drink Coke at all. Sayonara and arigato gozaimashita.